Hi, it's Mark here. I just wanted to go over the documentation and terminology and the document tree with you. Just take a couple minutes within the ISMS Information Security Management System. There's basically 7 different levels. There's a strategy, overarching. There's policy, which I'll explain in a minute. Then there are policy statements within the policy, practices and procedures, standards, controls, and guidelines. The tree looks like this. So there's no specific correlation between any layer within the document tree. This is just an example. For example, only your document tree could look completely different. We begin with the strategy, which is an overall statement of direction linking organizational goals, objectives to departmental or process level activities and actions. Quite often, this is a business plan. It's usually a tactical plan, so it's a 1-year plan. It could be part of a more strategic plan, which is 3 to 5 years, broken down. And it tells how your information security management system is going to support the mission and the strategy of the organization. The strategy is at the top, and following the strategy, we have policy. Now, policy provides a specific linkage created to mitigate risk within the 10 unique domains listed in this case, we're talking about ISO 27001 framework. Each policy is comprised of 1 or more policy statements, each representing a unique business control area. Policy is often created as a result of a risk assessment, and the risk assessment has identified some kind of potential exposure which senior management and the Information Security Governance Committee want to address with employees. So we begin with the policy statement. This is the highest level of control. From there, it gets more granular and more detailed. The policy is a pretty simple statement. Policy statements within the policy, again, are very simple. They reflect senior management's direction regarding how employees should conduct business as it pertains to specific domains of concern where risk exists, while striving to achieve the business goals and objectives. This is something, again, that's part of an annual tactical plan that's agreed to by all management. It's reviewed by senior management such as the CFO and the CEO. This is how budgets are generated as part of these annual business plans. Policies fit underneath the strategy like this, and next we're going to talk about practices. Practices and procedures, and there's a slight difference between the two, are specific process-related documented instructions providing guidance to employees on what actions should be followed during related activities. These instructions are used to educate employees and link practices to standards and practices to processes used to achieve organizational compliance with policy and legislation. So meeting our legal requirements and legal obligations as part of the organization. This is part of understanding the organization, its mission, the type of services or products we're providing, and the specific legal implications to that. Practices are high level. Again, they usually provide an objective that's needed to be required by the subject matter experts. Practices are used with very well experienced and informed and skilled, highly skilled employees. Procedures are generally used with new employees because we need to provide step-by-step procedures for them to do the tasks that are required to achieve the desired results. So there is a slight difference between the two. After practices and procedures come standards. Standards provide specific details defining the parameters of how technologies, methodologies, and compliance may be achieved during the execution of a practice or procedure. Now, standards are generally in a secured environment considered to be highly sensitive. So they are secured. Usually it's a need-to-know basis. Usually subject matter experts who are required to implement and maintain security on specific appliances or technology, or to provide specific classification and standards within the front office or back office, are privy and educated to these standards. Standards are not distributed beyond the organization. They're protected by the organization because basically it tells where the potential opportunities are to exploit the organization if someone was to become an insider threat or to hack into the organization. So we protect standards. We do not share them. They're usually encrypted and distributed to the people that need to know. And there's not one person other than maybe the chief security officer, the chief cybersecurity officer, who knows about all the standards. So standards are shared by subject matter experts who only know about the standards within their own roles and responsibilities domain. Previously, we talked about policies. Policies can be shared externally, so they're less sensitive. So we don't embed sensitive details about our security practices or standards within policies. And procedures, especially step-by-step procedures, are also a little more sensitive, so not generally shared externally, therefore internal staff use only. So this is standards. And standards fit under practices and procedures here. And they're just above controls. Now, controls, also known as countermeasures, security measures, and safeguards, are specific actions which need to be carried out during the execution of a practice or procedure. Controls may also be linked to specific standards, like internal controls over financial reporting, ICFR, defined within the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or the SSAE Act. And COSO also provides standards. There are many standards. PCI provides standards. HIPAA provides standards. NIST provides standards for government. There are a number of different standards out there that are used as controls to mitigate risk. So that's one of the key things about a control, is it's specifically designed to mitigate a specific risk. So it may be applied within any of the 16 critical infrastructures differently in each infrastructure, depending on the environment and the type of technology or infrastructure that they're supporting. Also depends on the level of skill and experience of their staff, as we talked about the difference between practices and procedures. So controls fit here at the very bottom. They are protected like standards. They are not revealed generally to people. They are embedded within the standards, the security standards that we have. So we know which specific controls we're using to apply in specific areas, such as GDPR, for instance. Guidelines, last but not least, are sometimes used to simplify the execution of practices and procedures to the point where a non-trained employee may administer the practice or procedure. The development of guidelines are not recommended for truly secure facilities, as they violate a principle of secure systems known as universal application. So it's important to know, you will see people use guidelines from time to time. It's not advised for secure facilities to have guidelines, because they simply dumb down the security to a point where anybody could execute a practice or procedure and learn about the vulnerabilities of the organization and potentially exploit gaps or manipulate the security configuration in a way that they could exploit information and controls and take advantage of the system to gain access to sensitive information, such as personally identifiable information. Okay, this is that's everything. that I wanted to say about the different levels of documentation within the ISO framework. And if you have any questions, please drop me an email. Thank you.